important to get this meeting started off today because the most important issue is currently what's going on in Kashmir, occupied Kashmir. I think over the last few months we've had a serious debate about the people we supply arms to. Currently, there's a debate in Syria at the moment of what's going on. There's a debate currently about what's happening in Saudi Arabia and the weapons usage that there is and who's supplying the arms there. But what gets forgotten all the time is what's happening in Kashmir, where the Indian forces are using defense procurement that they have with us, with the rest of the Western world and the US, to continually abuse people who have no weapons at all in this instance. So I think what we want to try and do is to raise the profile here, but not just to raise it here. My parliamentary colleagues here, I'm sure, will be looking to press this further, both with the Home Secretary and in the Chamber when we get time, and certainly be looking to have other debates around that, because what's currently happening, what the current Indian government is doing, is totally a violation of all the human rights and civil liberties that are going on. So really we're here. I'm not going to go on for very long because I know a couple of the members have got to leave very quickly. So if I can first of all call Chris, because he's going to vote I think in a few minutes. So.
Yeah.
My name is Lord Lenny, Chris Lenny. I'm a very old friend of Mohammed Sawa and his family and many others. And I'm happy to be helpful in whatever way is appropriate. Now, I don't have a particular expertise in the area. I'm not pretending to be knowledgeable in the area, but I do have a right to ask questions and so on. And asking questions is often the best way of finding out information. So if I can be helpful, go ahead.
Thanks, Chris. Just grab that chicken. Naz, you want to say a few words? Because you've got to leave as well.
Yeah, good afternoon. Thanks very much for the invitation and the opportunity to speak here today. I reiterate what I've already said. I think I've spoken about this in my constituency, and I did write to the Home Secretary before the summer reset, and I'm happy to put my name to any efforts that are happening in terms of highlighting the issue that we've got in Kashmir. I think it's a long time we have these meetings, but in terms of the most recent issues, in terms of the pellet, the use of pellet, the use of legislation, the use of the way the army is behaving, the human rights violations, were never acceptable before, but they have. The way it's escalated now does really need a diplomatic response, and we need to look towards we must look towards how to have that response as well as other leaders. And I will certainly endorse all that is happening. We have my support.
Thank you, Naz. Also, can you please, I know that we're welcomed there by our former colleague, the first member of the UK, Muslim member of the UK Parliament, Chaudhry Mohammed Sarwar. I know that he's, for the moment, has left us and is not around. But we look forward to perhaps welcoming you back. He's very busy in Pakistan looking at the issues of governance, democracy, and all those issues that are important to all of us. So if I can say, Chaudhry Sarwar, who was involved a long time before perhaps I was on the issue of Kashmir, and all these issues that are important to the Muslim diaspora within the UK. So,
thank you, Khalid, for hosting this event. It's nice to be back among friends, and something I really cherish and value: democratic values, traditions, and fundamental rights for all the people in this country. And I was fortunate to be in this country. My children were born here, brought up here. And then it was the strength of democracy here, the values here, that I succeeded in business, and then I succeeded in my political career. People in Glasgow didn't look at my color, my religion, my background, which nationality I have. They voted for me because they felt that I can give them a better service and I can serve the communities according to their wishes and according to their expectations. Now I'm here for a week. I'm going to be here today. I was here yesterday, and tomorrow and Thursday I'm going to be in the European Parliament just to highlight the plight of the Kashmiri people. Now the Indian government is saying that Kashmir is an integral part of India. And all of us know, the whole world knows, that there are United Nations resolutions agreed by 15 members of the United Nations Security Council, which was given the right to self-determination to the people of Kashmir, and they had the right to determine their own destination, their own destiny. But unfortunately, generation after generation, there was a torture, there was a beating, there was a killing, there was murder, and those people were denied their human rights. Now, how this scenario has developed in Kashmir, Burhan Wani, who was a young activist, he was not a terrorist, and he was killed brutally by the Indian security forces. And after that, there was riot, there was uprising in Kashmir Valley. Again, India, whenever there is uprising in Kashmir, India always finds the excuse and blames Pakistan, that there is a cross-border terror. They always make these allegations, but they have never been able to give any proof to the international community that Pakistan is interfering in occupied Kashmir. Now, both countries, I believe Pakistan don't want to have a war with its neighbor. We want to have good relations with all our neighbors. And I think the common enemy which the people of India and people of Pakistan have is poverty, illiteracy, unemployment. These are the challenges which both governments in Pakistan and India should be taken on board. But unfortunately, Indian government is giving threats now to Pakistan that they want to wage a war. So I urge the parliamentarians here that you can use your influence and you should use influence on India to make sure that they don't wage another war against Pakistan. Now, Pakistan, I think, has given the most sacrifices. No country in the world has sacrificed 70,000 their own people fighting against terror. Our armed forces are fighting against terrorism, and you know our great leader, Benazir Bhutto, she was murdered by these terrorists. So Pakistan has paid a very heavy price fighting against terror. And again, international community always accuses us that we are not doing enough. Our economy is destroyed, our law and order situation is destroyed because of this extremism and because of this terrorism. And I am here to request the parliamentarians and particularly the Pakistani community living in the United Kingdom, in Europe, and in the United States of America, because I passionately believe that you are Pakistan's ambassador. And Kashmiri and Pakistani community, I think it's about 1 million, and you people are the bridge between Pakistan and Great Britain. So I urge you all that you should contact your members of parliament, or members of House of Lords, trade union activists, human rights activists, to present the case of Pakistan to the Britain, to the community of Britain and all over Europe. The last thing I want to say is that nothing can be resolved through wars. We had wars, 3 wars in the past, but no solution. Wars are not the solution to our problem. So I think there has to be negotiations between India and Pakistan, and Kashmir is the main party in this conflict, and Kashmiris should also be engaged in these negotiations with Pakistan and India. Pakistan has always offered any third-party mediation, but unfortunately, India has always refused to come around the table. So it's time that now Kashmiris, I believe, they have decided they want self-determination or death. Because, 90 days have passed. More than 100 people have been killed. 700 people are blinded because of these pellet guns in the eyes of the women and young people. Gross violation of human rights is taking place in occupied Kashmir since last 3 months. And I believe that international community is turning blind eye and deaf ears to the plight of Kashmiri people. It's time now that international community should exert pressure on India so people in occupied Kashmir can be given self-determination. That's their birthright. This was a right given to them by the international community. Once again, I'm very grateful, Khalid, and all my colleagues to be here this afternoon. And inshallah, I will be keeping in touch with you and keep you up to date. And I think not only India and Pakistan are going to suffer if there is a war between the two countries, because we are living in a global village now. Anything happens in Pakistan is going to affect not only the South Asia, is going to affect the entire world. And unfortunately, if there is a war between India and Pakistan, that can be a nuclear war. So international community, I think, should take this seriously, because we can't afford a war. And if there is a war, it's going to have serious consequences for entire world. So that's my request to the parliamentarians, because sitting in the House of Lords and House of Commons can make a big difference. And we should help those people who are in need and whose rights are being violated by the international. Thank you.
Thanks. Do you want to? Do you guys want to come up, please? The next speaker, I'd like to see you do the please. The next speaker I'd like to call is somebody who's a very, very long-standing friend of the Muslim community, somebody who has worked tirelessly to make sure the representation and the support and the attention that goes sometimes amiss is attracted. Somebody who worked very hard to do this. And of course has suffered personal injury through some of the work that he's done. Stephen Tins, and also was the founder member of Muslim Friends of Labour. A huge credit to the work that all you've done, Stephen, and I'd like to say a few words on this issue.
Thank you. I'm very pleased to be here. I'm very pleased to be able to welcome Ahmed Sawar back to Council of Commons, an excellent colleague. I was pleased to hear a hint from Khalid that perhaps he'll be returning. It's great to see you here today. My constituents in East Ham, many are deeply concerned about what's happening in the occupied Kashmir. I know there's a gathering tomorrow evening where a number of them will be present. I'm here really to find out what the latest news is and to express support for the initiatives being discussed, to express concern on the part of those who are being affected by what's going on at the moment. So I'm grateful for the update that we've heard. I hope there'll be more information coming forward in the coming weeks, and I'll certainly want to take part in the initiatives that you were touching on, Khalid, that perhaps will be taking place in the House over the next few weeks. I'm grateful for this opportunity, and it's very good to see you back with us.
Thank you. Thanks, Steve. Next, somebody who has joined us recently in 2015, but already is a shadow minister in Parliament and is doing very well, and I'm sure he'll go a lot higher than that. Imran Hussain from Bradford.
Thank you very much, Khalid. It's always a pleasure to welcome people who I greatly admire. Chaudhry Sarwar Saab is somebody who I knew of growing up as a child, and I think the first thing for me to say is he did break some of those ceilings for those younger people that wanted to come into politics, and I think he did that very well. I know he's a man of great principle, and I wish him well. Whilst I have no connection or affiliation with any political party in Pakistan, I do wish him well in his endeavours. Chaudhry Barrister Sultan Mahmood Saab, who's just joined us now, will be remiss of me not to mention his name. Another friend of many people, and somebody who I believe has fought for the Kashmiri cause for a long time and deserves recognition for that. I'm just going to say a few things really, because this is very topical at the moment, and I've spoken up and down the country on this. I think the first thing for me to say is Chaudhry Sarwar Saab's absolutely right in terms of the self-determination side of things. I think that is an undeniable right that the sons and daughters of Kashmir have. And when we talk about Kashmir, I think it's important to remember these are people that have actually had a raw deal for over 2 centuries now, whether it was the Maharaja ruling decades ago, whether more recently going through the colonial pressures and various other things. So I think we have to put that into context. And I think there is both in law and in humanity actually a cause for the sons and daughters of Kashmir to be allowed to determine their own destiny. And that's the basic argument here. We live in one of the greatest democracies, and I'm very proud to do that, where we've just had the Scottish referendum not too long ago, where we've had the Brexit referendum not too long ago, and we know well how we should give that power to the people. And ultimately, it's people that can determine their own destiny and people that can decide their own future. So I believe that is something that's in everybody's interest to come together. Now, I don't think that's going to happen overnight. I think we have to be realistic. But one thing I will say, and this has been alluded to, I don't think it's in anybody's interest when we have politicians on an international stage using language of hate, whichever side of the argument they may be on. I think that's deeply concerning and that is irresponsible. I believe the language of diplomacy, the language of peace, the language of coming together and finding a resolution is what's needed here. I don't think it's in India's interest or Pakistan's interest. I believe this is the single issue that is dividing the two countries, and I do believe that the international community has to pay more attention to this issue. Secondly, in terms of the human rights violations, which is a far more pressing issue, we have seen what we have seen unfold over the last few weeks is nothing short of shocking. We have seen that there have been widespread human rights violations in that region for decades now, but we have seen a real escalation over the last few weeks. The indiscriminate use of pellets, the blinding of hundreds, the killing of hundreds of innocent men, women and children cannot be justified, and the world cannot turn a blind eye to that. I've just come out this afternoon of a very serious debate on Syria and what's happening in Aleppo at the moment, and members of Parliament from all sides of the House, I believe, made some really passionate points and came forward, and one of the main points coming forward was the resulting deaths of innocent men, women and children. And I would say equally we have to look at places like Kashmir where innocent men, women and children are facing human rights violations and the situation is escalating. I believe the international community must come together. This is a really important point. The international community must come together to sit around the table, because the only solutions to these issues are peaceful solutions, are political solutions, and that is what I am advocating. I, as Vice Chair of the All-Party Parliamentary Group on Kashmir, Lord Ahmed is here, who has led us very well as President for a number of years before my time, and I want to pay tribute to his work on Kashmir also. I do believe, he will probably talk more about what the All-Party Parliamentary Group is doing, but I think we do need a debate in the Chamber, and we do need to have more interest from the international community. Once again, I'm very grateful for the invitation today, Khalid.
Thank you, Imran, thanks very much. I'd like now to call the Chairman of the Labour Parliamentary Committee, PLP, the Parliamentary Labour Party Chairman, John Cryer, who's been a friend of the Kashmiri community, works along with the Muslim community quite well, and has done so. And he's here because he's been hijacked, basically come and say a few words. He just wants to talk on the issue of human rights civilities and what we should look at that, I suppose.
Okay, thanks, Carl. I'll only speak briefly. I've got a very, very mixed community in Kashmir. It's one of the issues that's been I mean, you know, pretty extensively highlighted in the community that I represent. Self-determination was a principle that was established probably 100 years ago, but in the case of Kashmir, it's not been implemented. And as a result, it's remained a running sword. Now, there have always been, to a degree, running battles. But I think Modi, since his election, has moved on to a different plane. Because the sort of language that he uses, and Imran talked about this, he uses such inflammatory language I haven't heard it being used before by politicians on either side. And when you've got a situation like that being ramped up, when you've got two nuclear powers, it's an incredibly dangerous situation. And I get the impression, well, more than the impression, that the Indian Prime Minister is playing pretty fast and loose with Kashmiri politics. It's something that the British government should do more. One thing that I don't quite understand actually is why what's happened in the past few weeks and months isn't getting more attention in the British press. I mean, it could be because things that are close to home that are much easier to cover, like Brexit, like the American election or whatever. Kashmir is a much more difficult and complicated issue to cover from the media's point of view. Maybe that's one of the reasons. However, it's not getting the sort of coverage and attention. And in turn, that means that to some extent, I suppose the government's off the hook, because I don't see much evidence that the government's doing anything about Kashmir. And Britain's in a unique position with its historic relations with both countries, where we're able to bring people together. Imran mentioned the possibility of applying for a debate in Parliament, and if we do, I'm happy to add my name to any application for an adjournment debate or backbench business debate or something like that, which I think we could probably secure in the near future. And hopefully that will put some pressure on government ministers to be more proactive when it comes to Kashmir. And I'd just like to finish by saying it's nice to see Mohammed. I haven't seen Mohammed for quite a while, and it's nice to see him back in the House of Commons, where he served for a long time. Thanks very much.
If I can now call somebody who is also has been dedicated to this issue for a very, very long time, Basil Khan Mahmood, who's also worked very, very hard on the Kashmir issue I've known him since 1983, the first time I met him in Birmingham, and he's worked tirelessly since then. He's worked across the European Parliament, across the United Nations, and certainly in the UK for a long time, tirelessly working to try to raise the issue. He's had a number of key marches, right from London here, right across to New York, and he's planning one, I think, later this month or next month in Brussels. So without further ado, I'd like to invite the former Prime Minister of South Kashmir, Professor Sultan.
Thank you, Khaled, for inviting me to this meeting. First of all, I would like all the members of Parliament to know that I have come many times here in House of Commons for the briefings, but this time I've come when a lot of human rights violations are going on in occupied Kashmir. A lot of Indian atrocities are going on. For the last 95 days, hundreds of people have been murdered, thousands of people have been killed, and insult to women is a routine, and even the Indian army is using the pellets to light the youth of Kashmir. So I think it needs more attention of all parties Kashmir Committee in the House of Commons, and in fact the Parliament and the government of Great Britain. And I think that Mr. Modi, the Prime Minister of India, is the extremist, and one extreme follows another extreme, and I think that that is advantageous to the terrorist, the transitional terrorist groups to recruit the youth of Kashmir and to use for their own nefarious purposes. So I think that at this stage, it's not only that the human rights violation has been committed, it's also a great tension at the line of control between India and Pakistan. At one stage, India claimed that they had some surgical strikes at the line of control, and keeping in mind that both India and Pakistan are the operational nuclear, they have the nuclear capability, so I think that it's quite alarming, and we will certainly ask international community and Great Britain, and especially the House of Commons, which always supported the Kashmiris' right of self-determination and condemning the Indian atrocities in occupied Kashmir. And I think it's the time when United Nations Commission for Human Rights wanted to visit occupied Kashmir, but the Indian did not allow them to visit occupied Kashmir. That proves their guilt, of course, that they are hiding something from the human rights assertions. On one hand, India wants to be the permanent member of the Security Council. On the other hand, they don't accept the resolutions of the Security Council, and even they don't allow the United Nations Commission of Human Rights to go there and find themselves. So I would like to say the real bone of contention between India and Pakistan is Kashmir, and a situation like this, any small incident or accident could trigger a war, and it will not contain only in South Asia, it will spread all over. So I'm here to request the members of Parliament to request your government to play a role of mediation between India and Pakistan, because if there are no dialogues, that means the situation will be in the hands of hawkish and non-state actors, and that will not be beneficial to anybody. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Next, I'd like to call somebody who's taken on the task of looking at the issue in relation to what we do in Parliament on Kashmir, and has worked very hard to put the Work Party group together and continue to support it. David?
Well, thank you very much. I didn't know about this meeting until an hour ago, so I'm not quite sure what the objective of it is. So if I repeat what's been said, I apologise. If I'm talking on the wrong topic, I apologise. I've not seen the agenda, so I might well be. I assume that we're talking about what we always talk about when we get together in this place, as we did in both the previous weeks when we sat in September, which is the terrible situation in Kashmir. What I can say is that I listened to the end of what Imran said, agree with it, and I listened to what the chairman of the PLP, John Cryer, said, who has now left us. Oh, no, you're hidden behind the camera, John. You moved. It was probably because you thought I was going to speak. You thought, I'll head out towards the door, quite right. But what you were saying, it was fortunate that you've not left, because I'm going to say something very complimentary, which was that you were speaking good sense, and I agreed with it. I don't always agree with you, and it's probably the end of your career for me to say that, but I did agree with it. And you are quite right, and I've often made the same point, that the problems in Kashmir do not get the attention to which they deserve. And it may well be that they're a long way away and that there are other issues nearer to home that it is easier for the media to cover, but that does not deny the fact that they ought to get more coverage than they do. And certainly at the present time, when we've got two nuclear powers in Pakistan and India, on either side of the line of control, it's difficult to think of another situation anywhere in the world which is so sort of knife-edge that does deserve the attention of our media. And certainly from the all-party parliamentary group's point of view, I do think that we should apply for a debate, a backbench business debate. I'm going to ask the government if they will take this one. I suspect they will say no with no time. But the backbench business committee on which I sit, so I'm slightly conflicted in that, but there's nothing to stop the committee applying for the debate. We do have a long list, I can say that. It's not secret knowledge that there's a long list of debates waiting. But if we don't get on that list, we'll never get to the top of it. So I do think that there is a good ground for making an application at the present time. And I noted the fact that you said you support it. So and I'm sure you will. I have put in fact, just today, for its Foreign Office questions coming up, and I put down to apply to ask a question. I'm not sure what the situation is in the Lords now, but it may be possible that it may be raised the Lords as well. But that's, as MPs here will know, it works on a ballot system. So there's no guarantee that will come out. But nevertheless, I have put in the application. We are trying to arrange a meeting with the Foreign Office Minister. I've got a letter from him offering a meeting in the Foreign Office, which once it's fixed up, we will notify all the members of the committee of that day. So I want to reassure you all that this matter, as far as the all-party group, has not been forgotten and will not be forgotten.
Thank you. Thank you very much. If I can please call somebody who almost has been as long as Mohammed Sawa in Parliament, somebody who is a Kashmiri, the first Kashmiri to be in the upper house, the House of Lords, and somebody who has continuously tirelessly worked on this issue because not just of his own standing as one, as a Kashmiri, but also because of his belief and strong belief in human rights and civil liberties. Lord Ahmed.
Khalid, thank you very much. Let me first of all say to David, I'm guilty as charged by giving you only 1 hour notice. But thank you for coming, because there were a number of us trying to organize this meeting for Muhammad Sarwar and Barrister Sultan Mahmood Chowdhury, and I wasn't sure who has been invited. And I thought of my chairman, and so I've invited my chairman, and I also asked Lord Qurban Hussain, and others have been asked. So my apologies for a very short answer. But the reason is, let's be honest, it's been over 90 days, 15,000 young men who have been injured, 4,000 to 5,000 seriously injured, 500 to 600 blinded, over 110 killed, and the fact that UNHCR has asked to go to Kashmir to report on the terrible situation there, and the head of UNHCR, the High Commissioner, Zain Rad Al Hussein, was told that he is not allowed to go there, and of course he made his speech at the Human Rights Council as well. Amnesty International has been banned from there and was being prosecuted. And what we know is this Ajit Doval, who is the security advisor of Mr. Modi. And I think you mentioned Modi's language, that because of his track record, whether it was in Gujarat or whether it is in other parts of India, their policy, Ajit Doval's policy, is very clear and very open. He says, let them suffer. When they've suffered enough, they will run out of money, they will run out of energy, and this will die down. And we've seen, I mean, the suffering has been taking place in the last 3 months. People now will be short of food, they will be short of medicine because they cannot get to work, they cannot earn any money. There's been constant military presence and curfew in Srinagar and in the valley. And of course, the international community sadly hasn't done much. And that's, you know, there are a number of reasons. One is the elections in the United States, the UN Secretary General, new one, being elected, and other issues like Syria and what's happening at international level in Yemen and also in North Africa. So, but our job here is really to make sure that just like everybody else, we should campaign. I'm going to ask parliamentarians to help us, just like we had the Kashmir bus, which we started from Muzaffarabad to Srinagar. I have consulted with my friends, and in a few days we will have a plan for a peace bus to restart from the UK, so we can go into different constituencies and different areas, as well as if we need to go to Europe and Brussels and Strasbourg, we will do that as well. So, Chairman, I'm giving you a long warning now that when we bring the bus to Westminster, Imran, yourself, and all the parliamentarians here, we would like everybody to be there so we could do a proper launch from outside on the green, and then the bus can go into various constituencies from Walthamstow right to Glasgow. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ronald. I know that Saurabh's feeling lonely at the moment because he hasn't had a Scottish accent coming through, so we've got that sorted out. Somebody from Scotland, Margaret Ferrier, a good friend of ours, and he's going to say a few words on the current issue.
Yeah, thank you very much. And I must admit, when I came here today, it was on a fact-finding mission. I got told about an hour ago about this briefing, and the word Kashmir jumped out at me, and I'll tell you why. I had a visit to the consul, Pakistan consul in Glasgow about a month ago, and the subject of Kashmir was brought up then. I then have a local Minhaj al-Quran mosque in my constituency, and when I visited there a few weeks ago, I actually, the subject come up again about Kashmir, and they basically asked me to take forward in Parliament the cause of what was happening in Kashmir. So as I say, I'm new to this. I'm not a member of the all-party parliamentary group on Kashmir, but I'm sure as I speak my name will be getting added. And I would just like to kind of reiterate what John and others have said, and that's that this issue is not very high profile, and possibly the reason for that is that there is so much going on in the rest of the world that this is going down the priority. And obviously it's a priority for everybody in this room today. But we have, as you say, the US elections, we have the situation in Syria, which we've just debated in the chamber, which I took part in. We'll also have the situation in Yemen, so there's a lot going on, so Kashmir isn't being highlighted as much as it could be. So what I would like to say today is that I'm sure myself and other parliamentarians will start to bring it to the fore more, and that is by taking part in debates, and I would be quite happy to put my name forward to speak if there is a backbench business debate. We can put in for adjournment debates, but also it's about questions to the government, whether that's oral questions when the opportunity comes up, but it's also written questions. We're allowed to ask a number of written questions to all the government departments, so there's nothing stopping us from putting lots of written questions to get answers that we then can take forward as an oral question in the chamber. What I'd like to say is that, again, it's really up to people lobbying MPs. That's what, it's whoever speaks and shouts the loudest that gets the action in Parliament, and you know, I'm sure the other parliamentarians will agree with me when it comes to that. There's campaigns that are really, really good, and I'm glad to hear that there is going to be a launch and a campaign peace bus, and if you are passing through Rutherglen, I'm happy for you to bring the bus through my constituency to highlight the issues. So as I say, I'm still on a fact-finding mission, but when I went out to the local mosque, they did sit me down and they put on a video about some of the atrocities that were happening to the people in Kashmir, and it wasn't nice viewing, I can assure you. And to hear that so many people were affected in this situation where young people, in fact of all age, are being blinded by pellets. I mean, it's outrageous what can happen. So I'm coming from the point of view that I'm a great human rights and someone who believes in human rights for everybody. And I think Kashmir is an area that obviously I'm happy to promote in Parliament and take forward for you. So that's all I really have to say. As I say, I came along in a fact-finding mission today. I have learnt some more, but it's up to everybody here to try and give us more information so that we have the information and the briefings to take forward the arguments in the chamber on your behalf. Thank you very much.
Margaret, thank you very much. He was sitting there patiently thinking that we've not noticed it. And because we're on the Scottish stream at the moment, Ian Murray is there with me, so Ian, say a few words to some issues.
Yeah, thank you very much indeed, and welcome to Parliament. It's great to see Mohammed Sarwar here. I'm a great friend of Anas, your son, who planted on his return. In fact, I sent him a text earlier on to say I was coming to this event, and he said, "Tell my old man I said hi." So I've told his old man that he said hi. So that was his disrespectful words, not mine.
Yes.
But these events are crucial. I think you've heard from everyone who's already spoken, all the parliamentarians who've spoken, that we're desperate to make sure that this worsening situation gets to the top of the political agenda. We're all completely consumed at the moment by the issues around Brexit, by the issues around the Constitution, by the issues around the economy. But what we can't do is lose sight of the fact that we have a major issue here in Kashmir. We need to make sure that not just parliamentarians are aware of it, but we put pressure on the government and also make sure that the wider public are aware of it. You will have seen perhaps this afternoon we managed to achieve an emergency fair debate on the current situation that's happening in Aleppo in Syria. So this place can be pretty nimble-footed and be able to do that. So I'd be very much happy to support David Nuttall and his colleagues on the backbench business committee to see if we can get some more time in the House of Commons chamber to raise some of these critical issues, because it was only when I was coming here this afternoon that I had a quick look at what was happening in the current situation that's happening in Kashmir, and I wasn't aware that it was escalating again, and we had to make sure that something is done about it. We've got a government at the moment and a foreign secretary at the moment who does need to be educated, might be too strong a word, that might be too unfair, but certainly broaden his horizons in terms of the kinds of issues that he needs to be looking at, and of which Kashmir is one. I'm not being unkind when I say that. I just think that someone who's come in as a new foreign secretary in the current climate of Brexit and the other issues that are around on the foreign affairs platform at the moment, that we do have to make sure that he's across all of these big issues. So you have a friendly face here in the only Scottish Labour MP in Scotland in terms of trying to push some of these issues forward. And I know if I certainly don't push some of these issues forward, Mr Sarwar's son and Ass will certainly be on to me to make sure that I am doing the right thing and keeping myself abreast of the situation. So thank you for coming to Parliament. Never underestimate how powerful it is to come here, to chat to members of Parliament, to make the APPG more prominent, to make the arguments and to make sure we're all aware of what's happening. It's incredibly powerful. We all appreciate it. And thank you very much for taking the time to come and speak to us this afternoon.
Thank you, Ian. Thank you very much. Just before I go on, and before David leaves us, if he has to leave, I'm glad that he's there. Yeah, I'm glad still he's there. And the issues that have been raised today, and I think the key things that we're doing now that we're back in Parliament starting back again, it's a new term. I think certainly we'll be looking to put in a very day motion probably by tomorrow, and I'll come and speak to them about that and see how we can all put that together.
I don't sign, but you can get people to sign.
We'll put that together. Well, we'll put that together, and then also, David, we're going to have a look at see if we put certainly a backbench.
That's what
debate, and also call for some a German debates as well. So we're looking to work together with the group, with all of us together. Those that belong to the group will certainly be approaching them. Those that should be added to the group will be approaching them as well. So I think there's a lot of work for us now that Parliament's back in session for us to move forward to do with that. And that said, somebody here who's very close to me, my sister Yasmin is here, who worked very tirelessly on this issue, even before she was a member of Parliament. So Yasmin, you can say a few words in country on Kashmir.
Sorry? Good evening and assalamu alaikum. Welcome again, and obviously to times as well. Kashmir is a really important issue, not only on the level of international conflicts and what's happened there, but also on a personal level for many people. I know there are people here who have connections with Kashmir. Can I do a declaration? My grandparents came from what is now, I suppose, occupied Kashmir, or Jammu Kashmir, near Srinagar, and they fled from Kashmir then because of what the Maharaja was trying to do to Muslim people. You could say on one level that sometimes things haven't changed much in Kashmir, because even now you have got these conflicts happening. With the recent spate of violence that occurred some weeks ago, I did raise a question in Parliament about the fact that the Indian troops had carried out the various crackdowns, the pallets being thrown, the burning, the killing, the injuring and maiming of so many people. And I asked our ministers that they should speak to the Indian government and their counterparts to ask that these violations of human rights should not be taking place. I got the usual sort of answers, well, we are talking to everybody concerned and we are monitoring the situation, which is basically saying we're doing nothing as far as I'm concerned. And that unfortunately has been the response of successive, I hasten to say, governments in the United Kingdom. There was a time when David Miliband, who was the Foreign Secretary when the Labour Party were in power, he did raise an issue about Kashmir on a couple of occasions, and he got promptly shut down as a result of this. So nothing has happened. There has been a debate in Parliament on it, especially in light of the report about the human rights violation in Jammu Kashmir. In particular, the law which came, which I believe still exists, that you can just grab people from their homes, throw them away in prisons, and lock the key, no due process of law, no presentation in court, and the family doesn't even know where their family members have disappeared off to for years and years and years. And that legislation is still in place, it's being enforced. So there's been a violation of the human rights of people in Kashmir for a number of years. Recently, matters have just gone worse, and as you know, both Pakistan and India, the tensions are heightened. I think everybody here knows about the situation in Kashmir. The problem is, how do we get that message out to the wider audience, to the wider country, and to the country internationally? Because until and unless the people in this country are educated about it, unless and until the politicians of this country are educated about it, because let's face it, apart from a number of MPs who know about this issue, either because they have constituents or they take an interest, many members of Parliament know nothing about the Kashmir issue. And it's important, I've said it a few times before, that ordinary Kashmiris who live in the United Kingdom, and I know that at least a few hundreds of them in each of the parliamentary constituencies, we have 650 MPs, and I am sure that even in the Outer Hebrides there will be some Kashmiris who will be able to talk to their MPs, or in the remote part of Northern Ireland, or even in Wales, there will be Kashmiris or Pakistanis or other people who can educate their MPs about it. And what I suppose the movement needs to do is encourage all those people across the UK to educate their MPs, so that if we can get a whole lot of members of Parliament and members of the House of Lords educated and interested in it, then we can constantly ask the question, Because at the moment, it's the same people like Harlow and myself and Imran who's gone, and a few other MPs who asked us questions and who raised this issue. And I'm really pleased that, going to do an EDM and try to get a debate. That's one way of generating, because I think it's important that the issue needs to be highlighted. Highlighted about what's going on, and the fact that it's really important for world peace that actually the issue is resolved. Because we've got two nuclear powers who, almost came to blows recently, and that situation just cannot allow to continue. And therefore, the world peace, if no other reason, requires this matter to be resolved. So, all I can promise is that I will continue to press on the issue about the violations in Kashmir, the human rights abuses, and of course remind everyone about the fact that there is a UN resolution in place such a long time ago, which to date has not been honoured and needs to be honoured. Free and fair elections need to be held in Kashmir so that people of Kashmir can decide their own destiny as to what they want to do. So you have my assurance that you will continue to get that support and commitment from me, and I intend to carry on. Even today, I'll give you an example. I was travelling on the train, and I won't name the Conservative MP who was sitting in the train, and we had a nice long chat about Kashmir and Palestine as well. And he was very grateful for that, and he's thinking about it. So I think we all need to take that opportunity whenever we grab anybody, or see anybody, to educate them as much as possible.
Thank you very much, Justin. I'm trying to hold out for Lord Kurbana who had a vote. And the Speaker of the Mani when he enters. I didn't want to finish the meeting without him, because he's sat throughout there. Lord Kurbana, again, somebody who is a Kashmiri, another of Kashmiri origin, and has taken every opportunity to raise the issue of Kashmir in the House of Lords and within the community. Wherever I've seen him, right across the whole of the country, he's been there on this issue and talking to people, making sure people are aware of what's going on. So Lord Kurbana, please say to us.
Thank you. May I welcome Sir Saab and Dr. Sultan Mahmood to this house. They're all friends, and we have known each other for many, many years on this particular subject. May I say that we are those who are working in the UK. They're well aware of the issue. And normally, we are talking to converted in our meetings. Very rarely we get somebody who is new as such, who doesn't know much about the issue. Normally, it's those members of Parliament who we get even a very short notice. The situation has been explained. The human rights violations that are taking place have been taking place over the years. And the free license that the Indian government has given to its army under this Armed Forces Special Power Act, that is unprecedented anywhere in the world, where for so long, continuously since 1990, this immunity has been given to the Indian Army under the Armed Forces Special Power Act, whereby their actions cannot be challenged in any court of law. And that is unprecedented. And that is called the largest democracy on earth. And what a hypocrisy that is. Now, the other thing is that the United Nations Commission for Human Rights has requested, finally, after many, many, many years of silence over Kashmir, they have requested for an access to go and investigate human rights violations. They know very well there are 7,000 mass graves which have been identified, and God knows who is buried underneath those that soil, where there are thousands of missing people in Kashmir. India has denied any investigation. It has denied the Human Rights Commission. I was speaking in Geneva only 2 weeks ago with the deputy of the Commissioner for the Human Rights in the United Nations. And one thing that they have suggested, Sir Saab, it is an interesting thing, and maybe we can ask our parliamentarians in this country if they can persuade our government to at least do that. And that was, okay, India has denied us the access, but the United Nations presence is already there. If the Security Council can give the investigatory component to the observers who are already in Kashmir, well, they can do the job. We don't need to actually go there ourselves. They can do it. And there are examples, I was told, that has happened. Now let us see if the British government takes that initiative. Let us ask our government here if they are prepared to take up that case and just amend the UN observers' role in Kashmir, which have been there since 1947, who can investigate these human rights violations, and that makes the Human Rights Commission's job much easier. That is a new thing that I have learned, and that is something that I will be working on, and I'll ask our all-party parliamentary group to write to the government asking if they are prepared to bite to our representatives in the United Nations to take that up. With that, Mr. Chairman, once again, it's a pleasure meeting our guests, and I would like to work with them. I have to say that I have attended almost 12 meetings in the last 9 weeks on Kashmir, and there are 7 more in the next couple of weeks, and we are talking again and again on the same issues. Although there isn't any evidence that we are moving any further, any closer to the resolution of Kashmir, or to bring an end to the suffering of the Kashmiri people. However, we will continue with our efforts. Thank you.
Just before we come to the conclusion, I just wanted to say one thing, that Joe Server and Asghar Issa have arranged a dinner for the friends that are here. I will call you in. Thank you for coming. I think what we'd like to do is that because it's here and because a lot of people have taken time out to do that, at 7 o'clock, 84 Belgravia Road, Belgrave Road, there will be some food, and particularly more importantly, for people to be able to get together and have a chat tonight, further continue this debate. So all that are here are welcome. 84 Belgrave Road, Pimlico, which is literally about 7 minutes from here. So it wouldn't take very long. So I'd like you all to be able to come, if that's possible, please, afterwards. Our very, very good friend, Calvin Hopkins, has turned up from Luton. I'm very grateful for the very short notice that he has done. He's always been supportive on this issue and has worked very hard on this. So Calvin, you can say a few words, please.
Thank you very much, Colin. Calvin Hopkins, I'm the Labour member of Luton and represent a considerable number of Kashmiris in my constituency, and also so many friends from Luton with me, seeing the World Cup up Hussein for many years. Like you, I've been to several meetings recently about this issue, including meetings in Luton in my constituency. And at the last meeting, the party group, I suggested and it was agreed that we would make an approach to the Foreign Secretary, to go and meet the Foreign Secretary, to raise these issues with him directly. I've not heard anything that's happened so far, but no doubt the officers are taking that forward. And of course, as and when I would wish to be part of that delegation to go and see the Foreign Secretary. We all know the arguments. We've spoken on these things on a number of occasions and 2 or 3 times just in recent weeks. So, we've got to, I think, press the government to start saying the right things instead of just ignoring what's been happening and making no comment at all. We know that they want to hide away from this issue, but when there's violence going on elsewhere in the world, these are always high-profile issues. Kashmir is so frequently forgotten. It's left on one side, and yet there are terrible human rights violations and injustices going on in Kashmir which have to be addressed by the world, not just by Kashmiris, but by the people who support them. So it's my pleasure to be here. I'm sorry I have several other meetings, all serious meetings this afternoon, and indeed I've got more meetings coming up later on as well. But it's good to be here. I want to express my solid support for the campaign, and let's make sure we get that meeting with the Foreign Secretary.
Thank you. Calvin, as always, thank you very much. He's been a long-standing supporter of the Kashmir issue and continues to do so. I just want to say thank you, particularly in relation to Chaudhry Mohammad Sarwar, who has come from Pakistan because of his long-standing record on this issue and the way he feels very important, and he did before he became a member of Parliament, and particularly when he became a member of Parliament, first member of Parliament in the UK. And it's good to see that his interest is still there and he wants to come back here to highlight that. I also want to thank Barrister Sultan Mahmood who I said I first met in 1983, when I was quite a bit younger than I am now. And I'm sure he was as well. The tireless work tirelessly the work is done, and he is probably the only person in terms of the Kashmiri political leadership that I've seen who has consistently, whether I'm here, when Joseph and I used to go to Pakistan, there was always somebody there who, first of all, met us at the airport to make sure that we had a meeting with the next day to discuss the issue of Kashmir every single time he had, every single time as a member of parliament. And I remember a discussion that we had when I invited him here with Benazir Bhutto. And she said, and I said, well, if you want people to come here, ask questions Sultan Mahmood. And she said, well, he only does that for the Kashmir issue. Because that's, irrespective of what party he's been in, that is where his heart has always been. That is the true sense of somebody who has understood the issue of Kashmir, who has always worked on the issue of Kashmir, and I really want to thank him. And I know that he's got to delay his flight, which is due this afternoon now, tomorrow, so he can be here. So thank you very much for coming here. And I want to thank all the other parliamentarians for being here. To my right, Mr. Faiz Rasool, who is Muslim Friends of Labour, has helped a number of people in the campaign to really get people re-elected, and has worked on the issue both, particularly in terms of the Kashmir issue, to understand, for people to understand and to move forward. I know he's worked very well with Mohammed Sawa when the first committee was set, and since then they worked together on that issue. And I'm grateful for him for all the work that he's done and continues to do in terms of support that he gives us and the whole of the community. And finally, by no means the least, Chaudhry Ali Asghar, who has always supported the Labour Party and has also supported the issue and is supporting us today by arranging a very, very nice food that he does always at 84 Belgrave Road, where his hotel is. And please, everybody is invited to 84 Belgrave Road about 7 o'clock when you finish from here. It's literally 7 minutes from here, so you're all welcome. Thank you very much. Thank you for coming.